And now I'm having a fellow resident of yours here today with me because there's going to be a little interview. So let me quickly frame it for everybody to recap and to know where we are at in Huis Nuweland. A good friend of my wife, she's an esteemed young, funky actuary with the Percept group, and she recently communicated correctly, very correctly, something about COVID-19 crisis. And that is, in the COVID-19 crisis, we need good leadership. Good leadership at every level. Government, good leadership workplace like Huis Nuweland, good leadership families, good leadership communities, good leadership individual capacities. Why? Good leadership compels us as leaders to work very, very hard and make sure that we stay grounded, that we stay clear-headed, and that we stay calm. And that we counteract fear with compassion. Because that's our petrol. Compassion for each other. Our love for each other. Fear sometimes causes overreactions, that's understandable. But what happens with overreactions? Sometimes if you have overreactions, in other departments of your life, you have underreactions. So you neglect certain things. And we must try and be conscious of that fact. And try and look everywhere. With the bombardment of the daily information on television, and when you switch the radio on, and when you go on social media, this means we must sometimes just stop. Sometimes just take ourselves and our minds and time out. Time out time. Breathe deeply. Tune out the noise from the brain. That's why we do these breathing techniques every now and then when we have our meetings. But Lisa took strong and swift leadership. And as Huis Nuweland, we are pulling our weight, we're doing our best, and I thank my team again for when I call on them, whether it's middle of the day or middle of the night, they step up. And thank you for the residents for stepping up, for accepting the lockdown that I enforced on you and indirectly on your families already on Monday the 16th of March. Thank you, residents, each and every one of you, for your support, your solidarity, your spirituality, and your positive attitudes. I know it isn't easy. And I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. That makes me strong, pushes me up, gives me energy. The answer to this world crisis that we have at the moment seems to lie in social solidarity, humility, and creativity. Creativity as well. And those are the essence of what it means to be a human. And I see that all around me. The most creative things, the solidarity, the humility. People don't do things and work hard because they want to be praised and pat on the back. They do it because it's the right thing to do. The lockdown of our economy is by far the most dramatic show of social solidarity that I've seen in my life in South Africa. We can no longer in this country ignore our interconnectedness. interconnectedness at all levels. In fact, our economic survival in this country, now more than ever, is about our ability to pool our communal resources. Cross-subsidy from rich to poor is happening at the moment on an unprecedented scale. An absolutely unprecedented scale. And we and I and everybody realize we can actually get along with far, far less things. And we are one. So in this past 2 weeks, the word Ubuntu, in my mind, went from black and white to color. It means something. And on that note, whilst I mention Ubuntu and whilst I mention togetherness, it brings me to my fellow guest here on the podium with me, Elizabeth Hall. Elizabeth Hall was the first resident in Bedisa to go into lockdown, post-lockdown isolation. Post-lockdown isolation. Elizabeth agreed to be here today, thank you for that, and to be interviewed by me, unrehearsed for her, talking straight from her heart, because that's what we want to know, straight from the heart. Elizabeth, thank you, and thank you for what I and the other residents of Huis Nuweland, and for that matter of the other Bedisa homes, can learn from your experience. So I'm going to dive in with the first question immediately, and we do it like a bit of a book launch, that kind of format, so you answer question and answer mode. What were the first thoughts when you were first ordered to go into isolation?
My first thoughts were, yes, this is right. I had been with my children the 10 days before, and particularly the last 5 days when we were together in Citrusdal. We talked a lot about what was going on in the world. We talked a lot about everything. It was the most wonderful, wonderful time we had. And we knew exactly what was going on because we also were watching the news. And I knew that my daughter had to go back straight to the coalface because she's an NHS GP. And my son had already had a message from Canada saying, please try and come back immediately before they close the airports. And by the time he left, he knew he would have to go into quarantine. So I didn't even sort of really think of it because it was just the right thing to do. And you were doing the right thing here.
Thank you.
By saying to me, you know, you're going into isolation.
Thank you. Now, the other thing that links to that question, but it jumps the gun a bit before I go back, is what were your first thoughts when after 14 days and passing your medical, you could walk out of your room?
I was very happy to do it. It was wonderful just to be amongst you and seeing you all again and seeing the camaraderie here and the togetherness so much more than I think we've had before. It was just wonderful walking into the lounge and just seeing people chatting, talking, perhaps just sitting, but it really was absolutely great. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And everybody did step up, and Margaret assisted us with her 110 arrangements, and the wheel turned, and all of you joined in. And yeah, I'm extremely proud to be here at Huis Nuweland. And it makes me humble. And it makes me want to work even harder. Now, Elizabeth, they say that in the world wars, both world wars, the soldiers, the naughty ones, the one nicking something out of the one next door's backpack, or slipping out of the camp and going to steal fruit in the neighbor's store, place or something. For these types of transgressions, they sometimes got a 14-day punishment, which is like the DD, the detention barracks. And I'm quoting a famous British politician who were one of those who were locked up for 14 days for being naughty, where he said, and I quote, "Never again. Rather give me PT or 6 of the best, or something worse than that even. But 2 weeks alone in a room is too ghastly to contemplate." So my question to you, Elizabeth, how did you cope and where did you get your strength from?
Well, first of all, I wasn't alone. Yes. I wasn't alone at all. Fortunately, the television broke down, which was fortunate. So I wasn't involved with seeing what was going on, and I was only having Cape Talk news. And it made me stop and think, talking to the others, this is a spiritual warfare. It's not just an ordinary warfare. I had the strength from our daily readings, and I was following the Eucharist readings of our church at that particular time, and they cannot or could not have been so appropriate for these weeks. They were set, 3-4 years ago, the 3-year cycle was set a long time ago. There was only 2 days when you really didn't get anything from them. But it was amazing. There were prophecy, creation and the recreation, the new heaven and the new earth, the comfort, the illness, the redemption, and also what's our part in what's going on. And interestingly enough, people on the radio were saying that as well. It seemed to be sort of younger people. They sounded as if they were between about 30 and 50. What have I done to cause this? What has my selfishness done to cause this? And it gave me an awful lot to think about. It gave me to think about what my life was, what have I done? Because this is just an enormous, enormous thing. It's like,
And food for thought. I think all of us do a lot of introspection about life, about ourselves. And what touched me is what you said, Elizabeth, and that is when you came out, how visible and tangible the camaraderie was between all the residents and the staff. And now to the other after effect, the more tangible side of the psychological fallout. One can't come out of solitary confinement or isolation and expect life to just doof into its former rhythm. Can one?
No. Because I had no idea what was going on behind my closed door, except with Sister Dawn saying, it's 2 more, 3 more people are being locked down. Otherwise, I had no idea what was going on. But what I did know was that I could not do without all of you. because people would phone me, I knew people were praying for me, I could not have done without what Anthea and her staff were doing. I mean, I really realised what Ubuntu is all about. I am because you all are. And I hope that that is going to continue, because it would be such a tragedy to lose that.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
And in your life's, your cycle rhythm of eating, sleeping, being awake, were there any changes after the 14 days that struggled to get into rhythm again, or that was different?
And they were very different. Strangely enough, the rhythm of my sleeping and everything when I wasn't doing anything was extremely good. I was sort of sleep all night. But the first night out, I didn't sleep at all. And there was no way that I was getting to sleep. I tried reading, get yourself to sleep, but it just didn't come. And obviously it was a case of being amongst people again, and I suppose using my energy in the wrong way, or in a different way.
In a different way that you were used to.
Yeah.
It's a well-known fact and documented as well after isolation periods of longer than 7 days, let alone 14, which is twice as long, that a lot of times, especially initially, there's trouble with the sleeping rhythms.
Yeah.
And that is one must regather yourself and realize I'm now in a different reality than what I was 2 days ago. And how am I going to best equip myself to now get used to that again? Family and contacting the time after 14 days?
Well, I'd had wonderful contact even during those 14 days, because my kids were really concerned and they kept in touch. Particularly my son. My daughter tried to, but boy, she was so tired by the time it came to evening that when I heard her voice sounding so tired, I wanted to sort of say, yes, it's okay, it's okay.
It's okay, go to sleep.
But I had contact with the people in the home. They phoned me. I had great prayer contact with a couple of them, and yes, it's perhaps I've a better contact with them than I've had before, and maybe that I will have again.
But isn't it wonderful that could be part of your petrol tank?
Yes.
In the time.
Yeah.
Now, social responsibility. Let's talk a little bit about that. And I know that long ago you and I also had a chat about my grandfather in the World War, and in the Second World War he came back a bit of damaged goods, quite a few ranks higher than we went, but and about the effect of war, for instance, on people. And I know that I think it was your father or your grandfather.
My father.
Your father. After the war, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, my father was in the First World War, and he turned 21 then, and he came out of the war deaf from war injury, malaria, probably. And he came back almost into the Spanish flu, where his widowed mother and much, much younger brother was so ill they nearly died. I don't know how on earth they, at that time, they managed to cope.
Because that is an interesting thing. After the Great War, as we call the First War, that the Spanish flu epidemic struck, as you would all remember. And the similarity was movement. Because after the World War, lots of people went to lots of other places and back home and so on and so on. And with the interconnectedness of the modern world, that's what we do. We move around. And that's why this thing could spread over the world in modern times as fast as it did, and could spread in the times after the World War as fast as it did, because there were also alliances and people fighting for different sides. And after the war, they all had to return to where they came from. So thank you for that. That is an interesting thing. And did you, or do you, if you think back of the old scenario regarding yourselves and Huis Nuweland and the lockdown, and your isolation within a lockdown scenario? And let me remind ourselves, our lockdown was quite strict from the beginning, because none of you could go out, none of your children and friends could come in and visit. And let's hope and pray that we did the right thing early on, and that it lasts. As a risk management measure, what we have managed to do is there are still cleaners going in and out, there are still kitchen staff going in and out, and there are clinical staff going in and out. And Lorraine and I, but that is it. So at least what we did is we took the risk of people in and out, and we did this. And this is the risk. And we have the staff meetings that you see us having out in the open and so on, because we remind ourselves constantly of our responsibility towards the, if we're at full capacity, 85 residents in Huis Nuweland. In this while, non-COVID, but normal run-of-the-mill, we had friends that departed and died in Huis Nuweland. Can we quickly just have a moment of silence? Think of them and their loved ones. Thank you. Elizabeth, a last question to you. And that is, do you perhaps have any advice for the likes of me, or the likes of any person here, that might, for whatever reason, go into an isolation period?
Well, I hope you don't have to, but it can actually be, so long as you're all right. I mean, it is different if you are getting ill. It's a totally different thing. But if you're all right, like I was all right, I just hope that you would have the support around you to help you keep positive, and that you won't have any fear. I didn't have any, but it was only because of the support I had of everybody else. I am because you are, again. It was only from their support that there was no fear, because I knew I wasn't sick somehow or other. And yeah, so I do hope it doesn't have to happen, but if it does have to happen, hang in there.
Hang in there. Hang in there. And I think the message again is the fear. And we have to get rid of the fear. And we have to replace it with compassion. And Ubuntu. I am because you are. We are all in this together. Thank you, residents, for attending today's session here. And this afternoon at 3 o'clock, Margaret's going to have a meeting, a residents' meeting for the normal things and chatting about the shopping and so on. And then I also want to, at this stage, just say something in closing. And that is, I want to light a candle for all our workers here. And I'm going to do that now when Lorraine and I get back to the office, we decide. Just a candle. For those who departed, and a candle for the staff that are working. And some of them have difficulty to get to work. And for the other staff members that started spontaneous lift clubs with husbands and so on that are now at the moment not working, that are bringing staff to here and reducing the risk of overloading on public transport, etc., etc. And I see that, and I feel that, and I value that. And then, obviously, for all of you, and what I'm very glad to hear from Elizabeth here, because, I mean, I chatted through the door. I felt horrible that I couldn't fix a TV when it broke down, but we just couldn't run any risk. And we strict with our rules. So, but she was positive. She said, behind the closed doors when we chatted and so on, and that was important. But that fact, that mere fact of, let's talk petrol in the tank and move away from the psychological to just normal food. It's nice to hear that you say that the food that you got was good.
It was very good.
Well, sorry, very good. I like that. I'll take that. So that is very important.
Yeah. Yes, no, I felt very cared for.
That I think
you know,
is
I wasn't isolated.
that's wonderful.
You know, I wasn't treated like a prisoner, a criminal.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And thank you all. And you know what is nice, if I look at you and the smiles that I saw on your faces today, and it's the kind of thing that just makes it worth what we do. And from Lorraine and me, thank you for being there and for your support. And this afternoon there's a meeting. Thank you very much, everybody. Meeting adjourned.